I'm Robin Rather. I'm voting no on Prop Q because I love Austin.
Robin Rather, it's great to talk to you. I really appreciate you being here. How long have you lived in Austin?
I've lived here since 1993.
Okay. And since 1993, what have you been up to in Austin?
When I first moved here, I was executive in the tech industry. I loved Austin so much, I got involved with environmental issues. I was a 3-time chair of Save Our Springs Alliance. I quit the tech industry the night my adopted son was born, and ever since then, I've worked on sustainability issues.
Can you expand on the sustainability issues? What does that mean?
That means working on water protection, on tree canopy, biodiversity, climate change, in how people respond to what's happening in the world right now.
You've been involved, and those are all super important issues to the city of Austin. Have you worked, 3-time chairwoman, you said, of Save Our Springs?
Yes.
And Save Our Springs obviously being a very well-known organization in Austin, and talking about sustainability, all of those things City of Austin cares about.
Yes, I would say this particular council cares a little bit less than I wish they did. Their focus is on other things, but part of our job is to help them remember we're in a climate crisis, to try to invest more in climate mitigation and to, focus on the long-term well-being of people who live here.
Yeah. How is this city council veering off that path?
They are really focused on housing policy, on deregulating the housing industry, changing zoning. Some people would say their main focus is on building luxury condos. And, part of our job is to remind them, bring the focus back to climate mitigation, biodiversity, tree canopy, especially water protection.
And how does that focus of the city of Austin, how does that make Austin affordable?
Well, I would argue that we're not making Austin more affordable. That's one of the biggest problems that we have. The home initiative, which was super controversial, really hasn't had the impact on affordability that the proponents of it hoped that it would. There weren't really any guardrails on the home initiative, meaning there weren't flood protections, there weren't tree canopy protections, and there was no guarantee that it would result in more affordability, which it hasn't. And so one of the problems with that is you have more and more people being displaced. So all of us know people that have just not been able to afford to stay in Austin, even though they love it. So they've been moving out to Hayes County, to Round Rock, to Kyle, or out of the area entirely. So it's having a profound effect. Affordability in Austin's having a profound effect on who gets to live here and who doesn't.
And, we all know people that have had to move out. What type of person typically?
Well, just thinking about my own friends, I mean, I've had a lot of friends that had small shops that were, small, funky, cool Austin business people, and their commercial rents got too high, their property taxes got too high. You've got teachers, nurses, almost every kind of Austinite that I can think of has felt the pressure of, wow, I love the city, but I cannot afford to stay here, and in that heartbreaking way, have had to move away.
And we're talking about Prop Q here, which is about 20% increase on property taxes. How does that? Is there any congruency there between talking about affordability and also increasing property taxes, or wanting to increase property taxes?
I think it's exactly what we don't need right now. We've already had rapidly increasing taxes. If you go back to 2015, the average person paid about $900 in City of Austin taxes. Last year, that had already shot up to more than $2,000. If Prop Q passes, that will be more like almost $3,000. And to some people, that doesn't sound like a lot of money. In District 5, Councilmember Alter's district, about 40% of our district are considered low or moderate income Austinites. Those are your teachers. Those are your nurses. Those are your seniors. And for most of those folks, another big tax increase is maybe the difference between being able to stay here and not. And we take that really seriously. We've already lost too many people. We have to quit pushing people out of the city. It's not healthy for the city, and it's just not right.
And the city of Austin, you've been involved with city politics for a long time. You're talking about the major increase in property taxes since 2015, more than doubling, and with the pass, if Prop Q were to pass, that's more than tripling. Is the city of Austin using that money to make things more affordable? Is that even possible?
I would argue they're not making it more affordable. And I would argue they're spending a lot of money on things that we just flat out don't need and now can't afford. I'm talking about cap and stitch. These are also known as totally fake parks over I-35. I'm talking about the convention center. We had a perfectly fine convention center, which we've now demolished and are building a huge, over $1 billion convention center that's going to inflict $4 billion worth of debt, which the convention center itself is being funded with not property taxes. But the debt, it's very unclear if the convention center fails or it's likely it'll go over budget. Who ends up picking up that tab? There are so many projects, we call them discretionary concrete projects, that the city doesn't need, that don't actually help people. And what we're asking for is, why don't we cut a lot of the wasteful spending, especially the concrete kind, and focus on taking care of people, making sure people can stay here, and doing the health, public health, mental health, nature-based solutions, doing the things that really help people stay here in a healthy way.
So on the cap and stitch, if I'm not mistaken, it's over $100 million.
Yes.
And it's a park, quote unquote, over what will be the new I-35.
Right.
Does that help the people that you were talking about, the nurses, the teachers, the service people? Does that help them live in Austin more affordably?
No, not at all. It's $100 million at least. That is utterly unnecessary, and to a lot of people is just absurd. You know, if you've got small kids, are you going to take them to a fake AstroTurf park on top of I-35? Is that a joke? Is that $100 million worth of money that we should be spending? Most people don't think so.
So being here since 1993, how have you seen Austin change, not only in population, but in politics?
I would
and
say
maybe politics is the wrong word. Maybe city council and how they respond to people, to their constituents.
Well, I mean, you may have seen this week a story broke about a bingo card that actually mocked people that come down to City Hall to give their feedback on various policies the City Hall is considering. I think most people feel this council is the least listening council in the history of Austin city councils. In my view, it's by far the least green council. It's a council very focused on building real estate, doing real estate deals, supporting real estate developers. And they say they're doing that because they feel like if they build, baby, build, it will make the city more affordable. We haven't seen that play out. And meanwhile, those same buildings are ruining neighborhoods, pushing people out of neighborhoods where they've lived a long time, wrecking the tree canopy, screwing up flood mitigation. It's been a very reckless council, in my view, and a lot of people's view. And I think that's partly why this Prop Q thing is people are just not having it. In addition to a lot of people not being able to afford it, a lot of people feel like this council's been writing checks they just can't cash and investing in things that we don't need, and they're not going to actually help people.
Tell me about the people that are not having it.
Well, I'm hearing a lot of pushback. I went to 4 of the council member town halls on the budget, went to all of the council hearings about the budget and about the tax rate increase. And you had a lot of pushback, a lot of people saying, don't do this, we can't afford it. That included a wide swath of Democrats. And one of the things that I think concerns me is there are some people supporting Prop Q, which respect to them, that's their opinion, but they're making it seem like if you're a Democrat, you're not allowed to be against a tax increase, that only Republicans are against tax increases. And the fact of the matter is, a large base of Democrats in Austin understand how many people are hanging by a thread economically. We've had inflation, we have had economic insecurity from a lot of different factors, and people who are really in touch with folks that are hanging by a thread think what amounts to a $600 tax increase right now is just too much, and they're pushing back against it, and they're asking the council to cut wasteful projects, do an audit, find all the places where they can tighten up, and then let's talk about what kind of tax increase we need to do.
What do you think about if this passes? I think it's a little over $100 million extra into the general funds. The projected deficit is only $33 million.
Right.
So they're blowing past that deficit by, more than triple.
Right.
Do you trust this city council that that's really necessary, that much money?
Well, I don't trust this council as much as I wish I could. I've just seen them make a lot of decisions, and I like most of the council members as people very much.
Sure.
And I want to believe they think they're doing the right thing. I've seen them make a lot of very, very questionable decisions, especially around the issue of affordability, right? And do I think we need $100 million right now? I don't. I think we need to cut the things we don't need and concentrate on essentials, right? What are essentials? Public health, public safety, environmental protection, things that everyone needs and that we need as a city to be healthy and to make it in a challenging future.
Yeah, it seems to me that the $33 million deficit it's a small portion of the overall budget, very small portion, and they seem to be saying that everything is 100% necessary and 100% efficient, and there's nothing we can cut.
Yeah, it was hard if you watched the council hearing, either on the live stream or down at Chamber. It's easy for them to spend money. This council is not frugal. They just do not have a frugal bone in their body. It's really hard for them to cut anything. And for example, we got a ton of federal money during the Biden administration that did a ton of really good things. We all understood that was sort of post-COVID economic boost money. That was never supposed to be permanent money. But they didn't make a plan for when that money ended, how would we pivot? How would we softly move into the post-Biden money era? They didn't make a plan for that. They didn't really make a plan for Trump administration cuts, which you could have seen a mile away. This thing about not being able to raise taxes more than 3.5% without triggering an election, they didn't really plan for that. They need to get better at being frugal and planning in advance for shifting budgetary winds. And so everything that's in the TRE, almost everything, I think is worth spending money on. But they need to find a way to do that within the money that they have instead of trying to stick it to already overburdened taxpayers. Austin already has the highest taxes of any city in Texas by far. And so to add to that right now with so much economic uncertainty and so much economic insecurity for so many different kinds of people in Austin, it's not right. And they should go back and audit themselves, find every nook and cranny of spending where they can crank it down and tighten up. They should cut the waste and then look at what are our spending priorities instead of just somewhat recklessly putting all this stuff on an election, especially at a time when most people don't know this is even happening.
Yeah.
This is going to be a very low turnout election. And most people are going to get stuck with a bill they didn't see coming and they didn't even know about.
I want to ask you about that, but before we get there, I wanted to ask you about you're saying that the city of Austin should go back to their own budgets and fiddle around, try to be more frugal, find where you can cut.
Well,
right?
not even fiddle around. I would say take a serious look. Every family goes through flush times and lean times.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the world that we live in. There's no guarantee. And so you've got good times and bad. In the bad times, every family knows, okay, we love this, but we got to cut it because it's not necessary. It's needs versus wants. And I think this city council has wanted so many expensive things. Let's go back, cap and stitches, convention center, all kinds of things. And they do need to go back and say, how can we pencil out every single thing that we don't absolutely need, that doesn't really help people, especially our most vulnerable people. They really need to do the work. And then they can come back to the voters and say, we've done our homework. We cut everything we could. And now here's what we want you to help us pay for. They just really didn't do that.
So the most vulnerable that don't see this coming, when they see that bill, when their fixed costs go up unexpectedly, they're going to have to look at their budgets and say, I can't do this anymore, or I can't do that. And some portion of them, unfortunately, maybe a large portion, will say, I can't live here anymore.
Right. And let's focus on the fact this isn't just homeowners with their property taxes.
Of course.
This is going to hit renters pretty hard. It's going to really hurt people, local businesses, whether they own or rent their store or their little business. It hurts everyone, and especially hurts people that aren't already wealthy, that aren't already affluent, that especially people who've lived here a long time. And when I first moved here, property taxes on an average size house here were minimal. I mean, very, very minimal. It wasn't a factor in your kitchen table math.
Yeah.
Right? Now it's pretty much the factor. How much more? I'm already not making it. How much more am I going to have to squeeze out of a budget I've been squeezing for years? A lot of people can't make this squeeze. And that's what the pushback is about. And that is what I'm hearing all over town is, wait a second, we're already paying huge property taxes. We can't do this again. And the city needs to do better at their part of the frugality.
Yeah. Why do you think people don't know about this?
It's an off year. It's an election that is not really high profile. It's not a midterm election. It's not a presidential election. There are other things on the ballot, but they're not getting a lot of attention. I worry that people don't really understand the magnitude of this tax increase. This affects every single person that lives in the city of Austin that pays taxes. And we're facing years of structural budget deficit. This is just the first part. And so what we really need to do is make sure we're in dialogue, we're understanding each other, we're hearing each other, and making sure we're making the best decisions for all of us that we can. The saddest thing to me outside of climate change right now in Austin is how many people love Austin but can't afford to stay here anymore. Whether they're young people graduating from college, whether they're artists, musicians, nurses, teachers, people who've lived here a long time, people who moved here just a few years ago very excited, not realizing they couldn't really afford it. That is just plain sad. And we need to protect our own. And that's one thing about the Prop Q campaign. I love Austin. I want to take care of the people that are here. I want to do everything I can to, quote unquote, take care of our own. But I don't see how a big tax increase helps us do that. I'm worried it's just going to push even more people out.
Yeah. we're going to create a population boom in Buda.
That's right. It's already happening.
Yeah. So for those that are, is there any final thought you wanted to put out there for those that either don't know about it or don't understand that are trying to learn more about PropQ and what it is from your perspective?
Well, one of the things I heard at my neighborhood meeting just earlier this week, some of the PropQ campaign folks were literally saying, "Oh, only Republicans push back against tax increases. That Democrats just don't do that." And that may have been true in the past, but right here, right now in Austin, you have a lot of Democrats pushing back. You have a lot of people saying, "No, this is the wrong time to be inflicting a large tax increase. It's not right that you're doing it before you've cut all the waste out of the city, before you've cut projects like the convention center and Cap and Stitch." And so what I would say as a lifelong Democrat is somebody who cares very deeply about politics and our country and where our country's heading, I would just ask people, I don't think this is a Republican or a Democrat issue. This is a wallet issue. This is a kitchen table issue. This is a money issue. And right now, I think we need to push it back to the council to say, no, cut more of the waste and then ask us to pick up more of the tab.